The Fiat 500 is a popular little hatchback given to us from the Italians. It's known for being affordable, compact, and just easy to live with. There's nothing flashy or exotic about them. This particular one, though, is basically the Ferrari version of a Fiat 500. This is a 2011 695 Abarth Tributo Ferrari, and it's just about one of the craziest little hatchbacks you'll ever see. The Fiat 500, or Cinquecento as it's called in Italy, was originally a very tiny, rear-engine, four-seater city car built to be cheap, practical, and easy to maneuver the tight Italian streets. It was first launched way back in 1957 and carried through with lots of variation up until 1975, selling nearly 4 million total units. The car was brought back to life in 2007 and has done unbelievably well, with countless special editions, including this one I'm reviewing today, and strong sales globally. But now let's focus on the Abarth 695. From 1964 to 1971, Carlo Abarth created around 1,000 Fiat Abarth 695 SS versions. Aesthetically, the 695 was virtually identical to the Fiat 500, except for the logos, badge on the radiator grille, and a coat of arms on both sides of the car. Though this was the first version to actually receive flared-out wheel arches, just giving it more stability. Now, in true Abarth fashion, the mechanics were all upgraded too, making the car now produce a whopping 37 brake horsepower and 42 pound-foot of torque, hitting a top speed of 140 kilometers per hour. Now, sadly, only 150 of the 1,000 made are believed to still be in existence. Fast-tracked to 2009, we see the Abarth 695 Tributo Ferrari, a limited edition version developed and collaborated with Ferrari engineers. This car was actually designed and developed to be Ferrari owners' second car. So if you didn't want to take your Ferrari out all the time, you could get a 695 Tributo Ferrari and use that as your daily. With Australia only receiving a total of 85 cars for the whole country. Just starting under the bonnet now here, this has a 1.4 liter, 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, makes 177 horsepower and 185 pound-foot of torque from factory, with 0 to 60 times in just under 7 seconds. Now, I know that doesn't sound anything like a Ferrari, but keep in mind, guys, that this thing only weighs in at about 1,000 kilos. Now, this also received a special fixed vane Garrett turbocharger just to give it a little bit more punch over 3,000 RPM. Just coming down to the wheels on the 695, we've got 17-inch alloy wheels. Behind that, we've also got upgraded Brembos all around, and we've also got upgraded suspension in this just to give it a stiffer, more track-focused ride. Now, just before we move on to the interior, I just wanted to stop and have a general look at the actual shape of this 695, because I think it absolutely looks ridiculous. Looks like a funny car to me, almost shaped like a gumdrop in this ridiculous bright yellow as well. You got the racing stripes, carbon fiber wing mirrors, carbon fiber on the side here, Ferrari badges, Abarth badges, and the exhaust. Take a listen. Now, just stepping inside the 695 Tributo Ferrari, you are not going to forget that this is something special. There is just carbon fiber everywhere on this dash. We've got carbon fiber even on the transmission controls here. Carbon fiber on the back of the seats. We've got these Abarth full racing seats. These things are just very track inspired, very hardcore seats. You've also got this beautiful, beautiful Abarth steering wheel. This thing is very chunky. We've got flappy paddles mounted here. Also got a flat bottom on the steering wheel, and it just feels really nice. Now also up on the dash, we've got this ridiculous, massive boost gauge. I mean, this thing is huge. Just sits right in the middle of your view, basically. It says sport in there when you put it into sport mode, and it's just fun, and I actually do quite like that. Now, I will say, for a car that costs $70,000 from new, there is a lot of cheap plastic in here. The door side has a lot of just cheap plastic. The top of the dash is just cheap plastic. Even just some of the housing around this transmission control, it is cheap plastic. Even the aircon controls and that. Not what you would expect from a $70,000 car. But I will say they have done a really nice job. This is real carbon fiber. This isn't faux carbon or anything. This is the proper stuff, and it does give it a nice feel. Now, this is a 2011. Unfortunately, there is no infotainment system or anything. We just got a really basic radio up here. It's got CD player. That's about it. Although we do have a USB charger and an aux input, so that is good if you want to listen to music. Now, there are actually 2 back seats in here, though they are incredibly tight, as you can imagine, and really only used for emergencies. So enough about what's in here. Let's get this thing out on the road and see what a Tributo Ferrari can really do. All right, so driving this 2011 695 Abarth Tributo Ferrari, and this thing is pretty cool. Now, another thing you do notice straight away is that it is very stiff in here. The suspension is quite harsh, as it is a track-oriented car. There's something just special about this car. It's almost as if it's a piece of art or jewelry. It's not so much about the stats that this car puts up, because they're really not all that impressive. But when you sit in this thing and you just look at it, it's actually quite fun, quite quirky, and is something just you don't see all the time. And you get on the gas in this thing, and the transmission lags a bit, but once you hit boost, this thing actually really does go. And having this boost gauge right up on the dash, right in front of you, it really does look completely out of place and ridiculous. But it's just funny that it's there, and I like that they had fun with this car. Like, they put ridiculous seats, carbon fiber everywhere, upgraded the wheels, suspension, brakes. They put just so much money into this car when it should never have happened. So let's get into the 5 questions. So question number 1, how good does it handle? Well, this thing, with all its suspension, brake upgrades, it handles bloody good. This thing is super tight around corners, almost no body roll. You do sit up quite high, but the car itself does feel very planted. And the steering is very nice. It's got a very weighted feel to the wheel, and I really do like the feel of the wheel here. Now, practicality. How practical is this car? Well, not very. The ride is harsh, like we've covered. There's only 4 seats in here, and the back seats are very useless. So, if you're going to use this as your daily, I wouldn't recommend it. Now, price. These things from new would have cost over 70 grand here in Australia, and that's a lot of money for a little hatchback with a 1.4 liter engine. This thing was very, very expensive, but it's got Ferrari badging, carbon fiber everywhere. A lot has been done to this car, but it was not cheap. Now, on the used market, these cars will still run you around 35 grand, but there is not much to choose from. I just had a quick look on car sales. I could only find 3 for sale in all of Australia. That just this thing is a very rare car. Now, how good does this thing sound? Well, it sounds pretty damn good when you push it to the limit. It does have a nice little bark right on the up change, and I like it. Now, it could actually sound a little bit better inside here, but from the outside, this thing does sound really nice. Now, speed. Let's just see how fast this thing can actually go. So, foot flat down to the floor. Not very quick. And we're off. 100. She definitely isn't any speed demon, I guess, but I will tell you, when you're pushing this car to the limit, it is very, very fun. This thing is a blast to drive, and it does handle very well. And when you're going through the gears, you sort of forget that, it's not the quickest on a straight. And man, she is solid. But that gearbox, it does clunk a bit. There's no getting around it. It is a bit of dated technology, but it is still quite fun to push this car to the limit. I really do think this does fit the Tributo Ferrari, whatever you want to call it, name, because there's so much drama in this car. Like, there's noises coming from the transmission. It's such a stiff ride. You got these crazy aggressive seats, carbon everywhere. And this car just being so tiny and nimble, you really don't have to be going that fast to create a lot of drama and feel like you're going a lot faster than you actually are. And, leave it to the Italians to be the best of the best for creating drama in a car. So to that note, I think this actually is a pretty good tribute to Ferrari. All right, everyone, I'm going to finish the video off here today. Huge thanks to Vans West for hooking me up with this 695 Abarth Tributo Ferrari. And I'll tell you what, I'm never going to get sick of saying that because it just sounds so cool. Now, this thing is actually listed for sale, so I'll leave a link for it in the description below, so please check it out. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick review. This thing is just so quirky, so fun. Absolutely ridiculous car that probably should never existed in the first place, but I absolutely love it. So I hope you guys loved it too. If so, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you're new here, and we'll see you on that next video.